What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. What do you do when you feel like you're behind in life? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you two things that I've discovered over the course of my journey on this floating rock that has helped me to deal with the thoughts of not being where you want to be at life. Last week, I touched on this whole idea of the 40-40-40 plan, which is really a plan that none of us actually signed up for, but it falls in the spectrum of if you don't have a plan for your life, there's a saying that says, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Let me say that again. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And so ultimately, what I've internalized that to mean is that whole 40-40-40 plan that I shared with you guys last week, where you go to school, you get an education, then you go off to college, graduate, get a career, then you start your career, somewhere around the age of 24, 25, you work 40 years for 40 hours a week, and then you retire on 40% less than what you were making over the course of 40 years. That's the 40-40-40 plan. A plan that I'm sure if we were actually aware of, none of us would have signed up for, because it's just not necessary. And so what happens is there's this gap in our thinking and in our reality, and mostly in our perspective, with where we see ourselves ideally in life in comparison to where we are in our actual life. And so the two things I'm going to share with you is, one, perspective. It's all about perspective. And the gap I just described of us comparing our current lives on where we felt like our ideal lives would be is the wrong way to look at it. Because if you compare anything you have going on in your life, whether it's relationship, financial, physical, mental, if you do any type of comparison is the thief of joy, is what I'm here to tell you. Don't ever compare yourself against anything or anybody, including yourself, because what you really want to do to flip your perspective from, man, I'm not where I want to be at or where I thought I would be at in my life, to look back, reflect on who you were, who you've become, how far on your journey you've gone. And even if there's no way that when you started this adult journey, whether you're 25 years old or 55 years old or anywhere in between, whether you know it or not, you're a greater person today than you were yesterday, even if you didn't understand it. Because it's this idea that when you do something and it don't work, we have a tendency to waver in our commitment to it, when in actuality, if you don't realize it's working, that means it's working on you. So that ultimately, if you just stay with it, the work that is transpiring that you cannot see will help you to become the individual for which that work can work. So item number one is, don't ever compare yourself to your ideal, but always think about how far you've come to where you're at, and then aspire to just keep moving forward. The second thing I would say is this phenomenal analogy that I discovered, and I believe it was from a gentleman, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that Robert Kiyosaki guy. Most adults start their working careers or working life somewhere around the age of 25. And despite the new perspective or outlook on retirement, the typical societal understanding of a retirement age is that somewhere around 65. And I think that's based on clearly, the industrial age and folks retiring at 65 and getting their Social Security. So if you look at it, your life and where you are, whether it's, again, spiritual, relationship, financial, mental, physical, is 4 quarters. Just like a football game or a basketball game, there's 4 quarters of our adult lives where we can take advantage of our youth and our vitality and our ambitions and our dreams. And the idea is from 25 to 65, there's 4 periods of time, 4 quarters. First quarter, 25 to 35. During that period, most of us are going through the shock of the reality of this whole adulting thing. Like, childhood's over. You got to get out here and make a living and figure out, okay, man, how does this system of adulthood work? How do I provide for myself? How do I get the fly car, the nice homes? How do I live the good life from 25 to 35? Because I want to do it by the time I'm 30. 30 comes and goes, and you're like, damn, this is a little harder than I anticipated. So from 25 to 35, it's like the first quarter. The second quarter is 35 to 45. Somewhere during that period of time, you're kind of getting your arms around this whole adult thing. You may have taken on a spouse, may have started a family. And again, you're trying to get your arms around this adult thing at this particular level. And now you have 10 years of experience from 25 to 35 to go into the next decade. And if you're not intentional that entire time, I'm telling you, it will just come and go. You have to be intentional. You have to have some type of plan for yourself and or your family, if that's where you're at from 25 to 45, because again, that's the second quarter. You're getting ready to go into halftime. Halftime at 45 is a time for reflection of how far you've come and where you desire to go. And that third quarter is 45 to 55. And I'm going to tell you, that third quarter is tough. You come out of halftime, you might have been losing the first half of life, and you come out with a new vitality. You know what I'm saying? This next 10, I'm operating with 20 years of experience in this adult game. And, lessons learned, failures, successes, challenges, struggles, victories, tests, just life should be full of lessons from that 45 to 55 to help you navigate that period of time and ideally start preparing for that back run, because that 55 to 65, that's that fourth quarter. That's that fourth quarter. And if you're familiar with any type of sports, there's first through third quarter players, and then there's fourth quarter players. And I'm here to tell you, there are 2 different type of players. And so if you find yourself in the fourth quarter, then it's game time. It's time to get to business. It's time to lock in. It's time to gather those life experiences and really move into making a strong push to finish strong. Well, the beautiful part about the 4-quarter analogy is sometimes you can get a home run in the first quarter. You get a big lead in the second quarter going into the second half. Third quarter, you can come back and be on fire. And then you can cruise the fourth quarter. But if you have ambition, if there's things you want to do that's bigger than you, bigger than your family, that you want to contribute to society, the game's going to go on. But that fourth quarter, that 55 to 65, even if you've blown the first 3 quarters, and if you're down 27-3 like Tom Brady was in the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons, you still got a chance. You still got a chance. You just can't quit on yourself. You can't quit on your dreams, because somebody, whether it's your spouse, your family, your friends, or just somebody out in the world, they need what God's gift inside of you is. And until you bring it out and share it with the world, you got work to do. So 55 to 65, that's that fourth quarter. And you know what? If you find yourself 65 plus, the game ain't over. It's called overtime. It's called overtime. And now, if you find yourself not where you would like to be 65 plus, then you just got to understand something. You got to dig deep. You got to dig deep. You got to take your life of experiences. It ain't over. And you got to dig deep into who you are, you know, your faith. Dig deep. Hold on to that faith. It's been tested this long. You're still here for a reason. And you need to make the necessary changes to get the necessary results you want to go into that back end of your life. Because ideally, we're all here for two purposes. Two purposes. I gave you two perspectives. I give you two purposes. One is to yield to God's ways, and two, to serve his people. That's it. That's life in a nutshell. And along the way, you know, if you can provide a good life for your family so that you can then provide an influence and example for the greater community at large, you know, that's a life well lived. And so this week I wanted to keep it brief. I just wanted to share with you that if you're not happy with the output that you're getting from your life, then just change the input. And it starts here in the mindset. Perspective is everything. I would tell my sons their entire upbringing, you only have control of two things. As you can see, the theme of this video is two. And the two things that nobody has control over, and you are the sole person that's in control of these two things, is your attitude and your efforts. Nobody can dictate your attitude, and nobody can dictate your efforts but you. And so with that, YouTube, hey, change your perspective. Do an assessment of what quarter you're in. It's never too late. If you watching this video, then God has blessed you with another day with more air in your lungs and another opportunity to go out here and become the best version of yourself. That's all I hope for you. That's all I hope for myself, my family, and friends. And if you found anything useful in what I shared with you guys tonight, do me a favor. Bless that like button, comment, subscribe. Any feedback you have for the format, you know, I'm trying to stay with the theme, make each video just 1% better than the previous week. And I appreciate you guys tuning in and checking me out. And I look forward to chopping it up with you guys again next week. Peace.